I'm not sure how well you can see this, but I planted this pear tree when I was a young man about 20 years ago. And last year I got half a pickup load of pears. And this year I'm hoping for an entire pickup load. I've never seen more. There's just thousands of them, hundreds of them anyway. And I'm going to crush it all up into pear cider, which is hard to beat. Well, why would I start the 2021 school year in front of a pear tree? Well, I'll explain that in a minute. Hey, hello. My name is Jeff Johnson. I am the senior member, at least age-wise, of the Central Lakes College English Department. And I'm making just a very loose, informal video to welcome you to the 2021 school year. We are opening this year, the colleges, D2L, a couple days earlier, so we can do stuff like this. Just say hi, greetings, welcome. And I don't know why we don't do this every year. It's always like midnight before the class starts, which doesn't make sense to me. This makes sense. And I want to principally talk about online learning, which is what this year is going to be about. And I told my colleague and beloved friend, Michael Hops, Professor Michael, that I was going to do this. And he said, hey, can I use your video too? I said, absolutely. If he does use it, I may as well start by dishing a little dirt on Michael Hops. Fun fact about him, he's secretly an English major. Nobody knows that. You know, most often English majors resolve to be English majors, like me. Sometimes they go feral. They go to the wild. I've seen it. Seen them in the woods. And sometimes they become geographers. I don't travel much anymore, but I do understand him. I love looking at maps, especially old maps. So let me say some obvious things about the situation that we are in. My dean keeps calling this a school year like no other. And if that's true, and it is, you deserve an English class like no other. And I'm gonna take a shot at offering that to you. Let me, if I could speak personally for a little while, just like you, all of you, I've faced some serious challenges this year. I saw the virus coming at us in early January. I was already buying food then. I did get one more bus load of CLC students to see Shakespeare at the Guthrie. And that was just minutes before it closed for good, along with all the things of the world, right? I was unable to get my Intro to the Humanities class to the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. I love doing that. Couldn't do it. I had to cancel 2 poetry events. Tina Chang for my Verse Like Water series, and heartbreakingly, I had to cancel one of my literary heroes, the Polish poet Adam Zagajewski. I cried about that. But there was nothing else to do regarding my Verse Like Water series. Even more traumatically, I was wrenched from the dreamiest classroom at Central Lakes College, where my dean lets me have all of my classes, E339. I love it there. I've been there for years. There's a courtyard that it looks out onto. It's got fantastic acoustics and a big table in front of me, screen behind me, students in front of me, that I'm living with in vivid captivity. Then we had that little break, and pretty quickly I was doing what I'm going to attempt starting Monday, live Zoom classes. Now, let's talk about that. I need to talk with you a little bit about this. The bulk of the liberal arts campus is going to be online this. I did hit that button. Sorry. I'll edit that out. The bulk of the classes being offered at the liberal arts campus are going to be online. My entire English department is going online too, for fall for sure, likely for spring, barring some kind of miracle. Speaking generally, and not as an expert, we're offering courses 2 different ways. One way is asynchronous. That means that your teachers are, and I'm not shaking my fist at them, even though it's not my scene. Teachers are going to be putting up work, putting up assignments, putting up readings, opportunities for discussion, etc. online, and you can do that work when it's convenient for you. I can't live like that. I just can't. I just cannot, as I begin my 35th year teaching and my 11th year at Central Lakes College. Zoom is not optimum, but neither is sickness and death. And at least with Zoom, you can see me. And I can see the faces of my students, and I can hear them at least one at a time. I can also present, and it can be fatiguing. It's not as satisfying as face-to-face or actual classes, as I call them, but it's truly better than nothing. And I'm going for it. And I'm hoping to be at least decent at it. There's some Zoom behaviors that I tolerated in the spring that I'm not going to tolerate this fall. I'm not having it. And I got to be clear about that expectation-wise. And there's also things you can't control on Zoom. Right away, when I started this off, I had a student show up to a Zoom class wearing a really creepy plague mask, okay, complete with the beak and sunglasses and a hat. And I went, I'm not looking at that for the next few weeks. So I made my first Zoom rule. You can't wear a mask to class. You have to show your entire face. And that student vanished. Never saw him again. That's okay. I wish him luck. Pretty quickly, I think either the first or second week, we had another strange incident. Sweet Johanna Jwils, one of my favorite students last year, she was sitting at her kitchen table taking class, and behind her we could see a doorway which obviously led to a bedroom. And there was, a moment where her father walked in his underwear behind her, sat on the bed, and pulled on his jeans to start the day. I know what you're thinking. Boxers or briefs? I'm not saying so. I'm not saying what either. I'm trying to turn that into a repressed memory. But how do you unsee that? It's hard. Now let's talk about my end of things and your end of things. On my end, I'm not putting up, I don't know how well you can see this, I'm not putting up with the little camera and the sensor on that MacBook Pro. I'm upgrading things. It's not bombastic for me to proclaim the truth. I'm really good at getting external funds. I've gotten $300,000 to host 25 poets in the last 8 years for my Verse Like Water series. And just a few days ago, Monday actually, today's Thursday, I read to the end of a very long email from our VP of Finance, and she mentioned something called CARES Act funding. I don't know very much about that, but I got excited and I thought, hey, why don't I just ask about it? I did, and I was approved. And now, pretty quickly, my UPS guy, who I'm getting to be friends with because I get so much stuff via UPS, he's going to come down my long driveway and he's going to bring me some serious gear, even though I'm going to have to learn how to use it. I'm getting a DSLR 4K camera, a Canon RP, I think. I'm getting a 4x6 wall-mounted dry erase board so I can draw, make little pictures to help myself think along with my students. I'm getting a 4K monitor, so a big one, so I can look up instead of down. That's one of the problems with Zoom. We're all looking down so we can see each other. I'm getting a couple of tripods. I'm getting a GoPro Hero 8 so I can make asynchronous lessons for my class that I'm teaching for another college, Riverland. I want to do that from my boat. English majors deserve action cameras. And other miscellaneous gear. I'm not an online teacher, but I want to look and I want to sound good as I take an attempt, make an attempt at impersonating one. I want to look and sound good. Now, you don't need thousands of dollars worth of gear like I have, but we do have to talk a little bit. One of the first questions you have to ask yourself is, do I have the integrity and the professionalism and the respect to punctually attend live Zoom classes? That's kind of thing one. If not, take an asynchronous class, okay? Just ask yourself that. Interrogate yourself. Ask yourself that question. The next thing you have to ask yourself is, do I at least have a decent device to do this with? By that I mean a laptop, a PC, a tablet, less desirable, or an iPad, I guess. Do not attempt to take this class or even attend it once with your phone. Please don't do it. I know you love your phones, but there's problems there. It's jiggly, okay? And you're going to want to walk around. Don't do that. And you maybe go sit on your deck. I've seen it all summer. People beaming in while driving and riding in cars. It doesn't make any sense. At least with a laptop with a full screen, you can see the 24 squares that represent 24 human beings. I do not understand why you would want to make the squares super tiny on your phone. So please, this is a serious hard no. Don't take the class on your phone. It's the 21st century, and you can't go to college on an iPhone. Third question you've got to ask yourself is, do I at least have decent bandwidth to take the course? And again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I'm trying to understand it. From what I can tell, even though it's hard to get a really clear answer on this, from my IT handlers and from Mark, our videographer, you need at least, Zoom proclaims that you need 2 meg up and 2 meg down. So a 2 meg upload and a 2 meg download. And you can do a speed test to see if you've got that. Mark Abrams is dubious about that. He thinks Zoom needs a little more. But I just attended a Zoom meeting yesterday that had 70 teachers on it, and we all got by just fine. And I know not all of us had great internet. You need decent bandwidth. Now this spring, I freaked. I got nervous, and I went and got my 91-year-old mama. And I put her in this little room for 23 days. The family decided I could keep her safe. And she was here until she just couldn't sleep well at night. She wanted to go back to her swanky facility in Anoka, Minnesota, my hometown. That was my hardest stretch of the pandemic. That was rough because I was afraid she was going to fall. That's when I learned a little thing or two about bandwidth. If you're a 91-year-old Republican, you know what you want to do all day? You want to watch Fox News. But we haven't had a TV here since 1990. So I had to spend significant time and money getting her cable TV so she could watch Fox News. Well, when she was watching Fox News, it took half of the bandwidth that I had. I'm at the end of a long driveway. I'm paying for 25 meg, pulling probably 17, 18 on a good day. And there were mornings where I had to come in here and say, Mama, you cannot watch Fox News. I got to teach. I have to do my job. Ask yourself that question. Do you have a lot of family members or friends living in the same building that are going to be trying to live in the online world with multiple devices? It is distracting to watch students log out or fall, kind of fade from the thing and then try to log back in and reappear with the black screen only to vanish again. Please don't be that student. It won't work. I'm going to mark you absent. Although we've got to have some patience with one another as we do this. Be professional. Get up. Get ready for school. Don't take the class from your bed. Don't show the top of your head, right, only, because I knew that the students that did that this spring were on their phones, but I didn't bug them about that because of the trauma of the beginning of the pandemic. Please don't do that. Show your entire face. Be at least decently lit so we can see who you are. Students seem to want to be in the shadows. Please don't be that student either. It's not going to work. Have your volume off. Have your speaker muted rather when you're in class, and get good at unmuting when you want to speak right away. There's just some basic stuff, and I'll think all this through, and I'll put it up in a list of do's and don'ts. It's not hard, and I don't think my expectations are onerous. Regarding the pairs, and I want to start the class with a metaphor, if I could. Only English majors should work with metaphors because we are trained metaphorians. They're really dangerous and they're really powerful. But let me end this greeting with a story. In early May, I had the compulsion to go buy a pear tree. So I drove over to Thompson's greenhouse down here in Stearns County where I live. And I bought a pear tree. And it was raining lightly. And I took it up to the top of my hill. And I was standing there with a shovel for a minute, and I had what I would call kind of a rough moment of despair. And I asked myself some questions. Why did I buy a pear tree? Why do I want to plant a pear tree? I've got pear trees. I've got my own orchard. I've got more pears than I can deal with. It's $40, and it's work because you got to dig a great big hole. They come in 7-gallon pots, and then that moment of despair started to run a little bit. I thought, okay, I'm a 60-year-old dude in a pandemic. These pears, it takes years for them to begin to bear. I may never get to eat them. I also got sad about missing all my students. and the chaos of the world was only beginning that we're living in. And I also want to tell you, I was a cancer patient for a while this spring in the pandemic. Found a little spot of melanoma on my foot. Look between your toes, boys and girls. Nobody does, and that's why it's deadly. And I'm fine. 2 surgeries removed it. The final path report said 0 cancer cells left. And then I started doing some thinking. I started thinking, I'm discouraged. But discouragement is the most powerful weapon the devil has. Nothing in his arsenal is even close. We mustn't give way to discouragement. We must not. And then I started thinking, okay, what would conquer that? What would help me transcend discouragement? And then I remembered, and I had a tiny little epiphany. That would be love. There are 3 course requirements. I'll be talking about them live on Monday. You need a sense of patience. You need a sense of wonder if you want to succeed in my classes. And you also need love. You don't have to be smart, believe me. If you bring those 3 things Monday, we are going to be just fine. I remembered, as Mother Teresa taught me, if you do something with love, it will stand. Planting a pear tree with love will stand. My grandchildren may enjoy those pears someday. It doesn't matter. I'm not even promised the next 5 minutes. If you teach a class with love, if you make your wife dinner, like I'm going to do in a moment here, if you do that with love, the lunch will stand forever. The class will stand forever. The pear tree will stand forever. Everything has to be done with love. And this class that I'm going to open up on Monday with a wide open heart is going to be kind of a pear tree, a 44 class pear tree. And I hope this makes sense to you. In this crazy world, I'm going to offer you hopefully light and a decent class full of beauty, which is what I traffic in. And I'm just so looking forward. And I better cut this video right now and get going on editing it, which is something I'm not very good at it. I'll see you Monday. Think about what I said too.